Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about something that feels familiar. You plan the big comeback. You map out the diet, the business launch, the creative project. You can practically taste the victory. And then, on the exact hour that courage is required, you vanish. You scroll. You snack. You suddenly need to organize your sock drawer. It's not just a bad day, it's a pattern. A recurring ghosts in the machine of your ambition. What if I told you, the enemy blocking your path isn't out there? What if it's the part of you sworn to keep you safe? This isn't about being lazy or undisciplined. Forget those labels. They're not just unhelpful, they're wrong. What we're dealing with is a far more intelligent, far more ancient force within you. It's a form of self-sabotage, but not the kind you think. This isn't you being your own worst enemy. This is you being your own overprotective, slightly misguided bodyguard. Think about it. Every time you're on the verge of a breakthrough, a level up in your life, what happens? Procrastination kicks in. Doubt whispers in your ear. A sudden, inexplicable urge to retreat takes over. This isn't a failure of willpower. It's a success of your internal security system. This system is designed to protect an identity, a version of you that it knows, that it understands, that it has successfully kept alive until this very moment. The problem is, that identity is now too small for you. You're trying to upgrade your life. But your internal bodyguard still has the security blueprint for the old building. The psychologist Carl Jung had a name for this force. The shadow. The shadow is everything we've disowned about ourselves. It's not necessarily evil or bad, but it contains all the parts of us we were taught to hide away to be loved, to be accepted, to fit in. Our creativity, our anger, our ambition, our vulnerability. We pushed these things into the basement of our psyche. Now, they're not just sitting there quietly. They are active. They have their own agenda, and their main agenda is to get your attention. So when you decide to finally launch that podcast, to ask for that promotion, to be more visible, you are directly threatening the status quo. You are stepping out of the small, safe box your identity has been confined to. And the shadow, that collection of exiled parts, freaks out. It pulls the emergency brake. It creates distractions. It floods you with anxiety. Why? Because the unknown is terrifying to this part of you. The new, bigger, more powerful you is a stranger. And the shadow's prime directive is to protect you from strangers, even if that stranger is your own potential. You see this play out everywhere. The person who wants a loving relationship but only dates emotionally unavailable people. The artist who dreams of selling their work but never finishes a single piece. The entrepreneur who has a brilliant idea but gets stuck in research mode forever. It looks like failure from the outside. It feels like a personal flaw, but it's a strategy. It's the unconscious mind saying, "Whoa, hold on, this new territory is dangerous. Let's go back to what we know." Even if what we know is misery, at least it's familiar misery. Jung had a famous quote that nails this. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. That's what we're talking about. The repeated patterns, the bad luck, the feeling that you're just not meant to succeed. That's not fate. That is your unconscious, your shadow, running the show from behind the curtain. It's a puppeteer, and you are the puppet, acting out the same story over and over again, believing you're making your own choices. The first step to taking back control is simply awareness. It's to stop beating yourself up. It's to stop calling yourself lazy. Instead, get curious. When you find yourself procrastinating, ask, what am I protecting myself from right now? What is the perceived danger in taking this next step? Is it the fear of failure? Or, more terrifyingly, is it the fear of success? What would happen if you actually got what you wanted? Your entire world would have to change. Your relationships might shift. The way you see yourself would be fundamentally altered. That is a massive psychic earthquake, and your unconscious is trying to avoid it at all costs. This isn't about fighting the shadow. You can't win a fight against yourself. It's about integration. It's about turning to face this part of you, extending a hand, and asking, what do you need? What are you trying to tell me? The energy it's using to sabotage you is just trapped potential. It's your own power, your own creativity, your own drive, just misdirected. The goal is to bring that exiled energy back into the fold. To reclaim Italiano. When you do that, the saboteur doesn't just disappear. It becomes your greatest ally. That same force that was pulling the brakes can become the engine that propels you forward. So, the next time you feel that internal resistance, that invisible wall, don't push against it. Pause. Acknowledge it. Recognize it for what it is. A scared, powerful part of you, trying to do its job. It's not the enemy. It's the gatekeeper to the next version of yourself. And the only way through the gate is with a key of consciousness. But what are the specific mechanisms? What are the invisible scripts it's running? These aren't just vague fears. They are highly specific, deeply ingrained patterns. Jung called complexes. They are the individual puppet strings that dictate your specific brand of self. In part those, we pull the puppet strings. The hidden complexes that script your repeat losses comment. If you ready to name yours, why do your failures feel so eerily consistent? Have you ever noticed that the boss who drives you crazy is just a new face on an old problem? Or that your breakups seem to follow the exact same heartbreaking script, just with a different person in the starring role? It feels like you're stuck in a loop, running the same race over and over, always tripping at the same hurdle. This isn't bad luck. It's not a curse. It's something much deeper. Something Carl Jung called a complex. A complex is an emotional knot buried deep in your psyche. Think of it like a cluster of supercharged memories, feelings, and beliefs, all tangled together around a central theme. Maybe it's a not good enough complex, an abandonment complex, or a failure complex. These aren't just abstract ideas. They are active, living forces within you. They are like little magnets in your mind, pulling you towards situations that feel familiar, even if that familiarity is painful. Your life isn't random, it's patterned, and these complexes are the architects of those patterns. Here's how it works in real time. You're in a meeting, and your boss gives you some mild, constructive feedback. But instead of hearing helpful advice, a switch flips. Suddenly, you're not a capable adult in a boardroom. You're a 7-year-old being scolded by a parent. Your heart pounds, your palms sweat, and you either shut down completely or lash out defensively. You've been hijacked. The complex has taken the wheel, and it's driving you straight into a ditch of old reactions. It happens in milliseconds, completely bypassing your rational mind. You're not reacting to the present moment. You're reacting to the ghost of 1,000 past moments all at once. This is why you end up dating the same person over and over, just in a different body. Your complex has a type, not a physical type, but an emotional one. It seeks out partners who will activate that core wound, who will play their part in the script you already know by heart. If you have an abandonment complex, you might be unconsciously drawn to people who are emotionally unavailable. Why? Because the drama of being left feels like home. It's a painful home, but it's the one your psyche was built in. The complex doesn't want to heal. It wants to be proven right. It wants to say, see, I told you, everyone leaves. The same goes for procrastination or something. That looming deadline doesn't just represent work. It represents a chance to fail. If you have a deep-seated fear of inadequacy, your complex will do everything in its power to make that fear a reality. It will whisper justifications for delay, create distractions, and drain your energy until the deadline melts into smoke and you re-left with the familiar sting of failure. You think you're choosing to watch another episode, but really, the complex is choosing for you, protecting you from the perceived greater danger of trying your best and still not being good enough. The actor changes this project that examined the script of self-defeat stays exactly the same. Recognizing these patterns is the first, crucial step. It's about looking at the wreckage of a repeated mistake and asking, what part of this feels familiar? Where have I felt this exact feeling before? You have to become a detective of your own life story, tracing the emotional breadcrumbs back to their source. It's not about blaming your past or other people. It's about understanding the engine that is driving your repetitive behaviors. These complexes are powerful because they operate in the dark, in the unconscious. They thrive on your ignorance by simply noticing the pattern by saying, "Ah, there it is again. That old feeling." You begin to drag it into the light. When you start to see the complex for what it is, a charged fragment of memory, a glitch in your emotional code, it starts to lose its power. You create a tiny sliver of space between the trigger and your reaction. In that space, you have a choice. You can still feel the pull of the old script, the urge to argue with your boss or ghost your new partner. But you no longer have to obey it blindly. You can see the puppet strings. You can recognize that the intense emotion you're feeling is disproportionate to the current situation. It's an echo from the past, not a true reflection of the present. This awareness is where your freedom begins. It est. The moment you realize you won't have to keep playing a part in a play you never auditioned for. Next, we cut the fuel source. Silence and strategic withdrawal save. This to return, because starving a complex requires precision. What happens when you stop answering your inner critic? Carl Jung let it ring into a cathedral of silence. We've all been there. That nagging voice in the back of your head, the one that whispers you're not good enough, that you're going to fail, that you should just give up. It's your personal saboteur, your inner critic. And for most of our lives, we've been taught to fight it, to argue with it, to push it. But what if I told you that fighting back is exactly what it wants? Think of your inner critic like a heckler at a comedy show. The more you engage, the more you try to shut them down, the louder and more disruptive they become. They feed on your reaction, your frustration, your anger, your defensiveness stats. They're fuel. They crave the spotlight. And every time you argue back, you're handing them the microphone and putting them center stage in your own mind. Now, imagine a different approach. The Stoic approach. Instead of arguing, you just stop. You don't engage. You don't debate. You don't even acknowledge the heckler. You just let their words hang in the air, unanswered, until they dissolve into nothing. This is the power of silence. This isn't about suppression. It's not about pretending the voice isn't there. It's about strategic withdrawal. It's a conscious choice to starve the complex of the energy it desperately needs to survive. Your complexes, your triggers, your inner critic, they are patterns of energy. They only have power because you give it to them. When you refuse to perform for your triggers, when you stop dancing to the tune of your self-doubt, the pattern begins to weaken. Think about it. When that voice pipes up, you'll never finish this project. You're not smart enough. What's your usual reaction? Maybe a surge of anxiety. Maybe you start listing all the reasons you asterisk. Are asterisk smart enough? Getting into a mental wrestling match. You're reacting. You're performing. The Stoic response is to simply observe the thought, acknowledge its presence, almost like a passing cloud in the sky. There's that thought again. The I'm not smart enough story. And then, no. Ting. You turn your attention back to the task at hand. You let the call from your inner critic go to voicemail. You let it ring and ring and ring in an empty room. This is what it means to create a cathedral of silence inside your own mind. It's not an empty silence. It's a profound, powerful, quiet. It's the space where your true self, your agency, resides. When you reduce the external and internal stimulation, the constant need to react and respond, you reclaim your power. You stop being a puppet to your own programming. This takes practice, of course. At first, the silence will feel uncomfortable. The critic will scream louder, trying to get a reaction. Hey, are you listening to me? You're making a huge mistake. It will test you. It will throw every trick in the book at you to pull you back into the old drama. Your job is to hold the line. Your weapon is your quiet, unwavering calm. It's the simple act of withdrawing your attention. Imagine you're a stone in a river. The water of self-doubt and criticism rushes around you, but you remain unmoved. You don't fight the current. You simply exist outside of its influence. You are the rock, not the water. Each time you successfully do this, you're not just winning a small battle, you're rewriting the rules of engagement. You're training your own nervous system that these alarms are false. You're demonstrating, through action, that you are in control. The pattern weakens. The trigger loses its charge. By withdrawing, by creating that sacred space of silence, you're not just quieting the noise. You're creating an environment where a different voice can finally be heard, your own. The voice of reason, of calm, of confidence. The voice that was there all along, just waiting for the heckler to finally run out of things to say. You start to realize that you are the master of your own inner world. You get to decide who gets the microphone. So the next time that inner critic calls, try it. Don't pick up. Let it ring. See what happens when you allow the silence to answer for you. You might be surprised by the peace and power you find on the other side. In part 4, we won't just resist the saboteur. El recru. Italiano. Shadow dialogue begins. Type listen if you're willing to hear what your sabotage is protecting. If your procrastination could speak under oath, what sacred duty would it say it's fulfilling for you? It's a strange question, right? We're so used to fighting these parts of ourselves. The saboteurs, the inner critics, the parts that hold us back. We label them as enemies. Procrastination is lazy. Anxiety is weak. Anger is destructive. But what if that's the wrong approach entirely? What if these aren't enemies to be defeated, but informants with crucial intelligence? Welcome to what I call shadow dialogue. This is where we stop fighting and start listening. Instead of battling your procrastination, what if you sat down with it and asked it a question? A real, honest question. Let's try it. Find a quiet space. Maybe grab a journal. Close your eyes and picture that feeling of putting things off. Give it a shape, a color, a voice. Now, ask it, what are you trying to protect me from? Don't rush for an answer. Just listen. Maybe it's protecting you from the fear of failure. If you never finish the project, you can never be judged for it. Maybe it's protecting you from success, because success brings new pressures, new expectations, a whole new level of visibility that feels terrifying. Or maybe it's protecting your energy, telling you that the task you're avoiding isn't actually aligned with what you truly want. Suddenly, this enemy isn't lazy, it's a deeply committed, albeit misguided. Bodyguard. The next question is just as important. And what is this protection costing me? This is where we bring in the reality check. Okay, bodyguard, I see you're trying to keep me safe from judgment. But the cost is immense. It's costing me my goals, my self-respect, the opportunities I'm missing. It's costing me the life I want to live. This is the negotiation. You acknowledge the informant's intention. You validate its purpose. But you also show it the collateral damage. This isn't just about procrastination. It applies to every negative trait you try to disown. That simmering anger you feel. Don't suppress it. Ask it. What boundary is being crossed right now? What needs to be defended? That anger isn't just chaos. It's a fiercely loyal guardian of your personal space and your values. When you listen to it, it stops being destructive rage and transforms into clear, firm boundaries. You learn to say no, not from a place of aggression, but from a place of self-respect. What about envy? That ugly feeling we're taught to hide. When you see someone with something you want, and that green-eyed monster rears its head, don't shove it back in the closet. Invite it for a chat. What are you showing me that I desire? What standard are you revealing to me? Envy isn't about wanting to tear someone else down. It's a compass pointing directly at your own unmet aspirations. It's not telling you to be bitter. It's telling you what your own new, higher standards for your life could be. It becomes a catalyst for ambition, not resentment and fear. The big one. The anxiety that instead of telling yourself to just get over it, ask it, what potential danger are you trying to alert me to? When you do this, fear shifts. It stops being a cage and becomes a pair of binoculars. It's not just baseless panic. It's a risk assessment system. You can thank it for the warning, and then use that information to prepare. Fear transforms into caution. It becomes strategic planning. You can move forward not by ignoring the fear, but by being so well prepared that the fear has less to hold on to. This process active imagination, journaling, somatic check-ins, where you feel it in your bodies how you reclaim these disowned parts of yourself. You're not destroying the saboteur, you're promoting it. You're turning it from a rogue agent into an integrated part of your intelligence team. You're taking its raw, chaotic energy and refining it into a powerful tool. The informant reveals the secret, and then you, the leader, decide on the strategy. You are the one in charge. This is the alchemy. We turn lead into gold, symptoms into symbols, enemies into informants. Fear becomes caution, anger becomes boundaries. Envy becomes your new standard for excellence. We're not getting rid of these parts. We're giving them a new job description, one that serves the mission instead of sabotaging it. This isn't about becoming a perfect, fearless, Zen-like being. It's about becoming a whole, integrated person who knows how to use every single part of themselves to their advantage. Final act. We build an identity strong enough to hold your power rituals, non-negotiables, and psychological dominance. This is where sabotage starts working for you. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're getting intensely practical. Forget abstract theories for a moment. We're talking about building the architecture of your inner world, brick by brick, until it becomes a fortress of calm strength. Imagine walking into a chaotic meeting, a family argument, or a personal crisis, and your pulse barely moves. The storm is outside. Command is within. That's not a fantasy, it's a skill. And today, we learn how to build it. This process is what I call individuation in practice. It's where the high-minded concepts of self-realization meet the pavement of your daily life. It starts with one simple, yet profound, rule. One hard promise per day. Not 10, not 5. Just one. This isn't about overwhelming yourself with a to-do list. It's about proving to yourself, consistently, that your word is law. This one promise must be not. It could be, I will meditate for 10 minutes. I will not check my email after 7 p.m., or I will do that one dreaded phone call. When you keep this one promise, you're not just completing a task. You're casting a vote for the person you intend to become. You're laying a foundational stone of self-trust. But keeping promises in a hostile environment is like trying to build a sandcastle during high tide. That's why the second pillar of this architecture is designing your environment. Your willpower is a finite resource. Stop wasting it, fighting unnecessary battles. If your goal is to eat healthier, don't keep junk food in the house. If you need to focus, put your phone in another room and use website blockers. You have to make your desired behavior the path of least resistance. Your environment should be a constant, gentle nudge toward your goals, not a minefield of temptations. You are the architect of your reality, and that starts with the physical and digital spaces you inhabit. Design them with intention. Now, let's talk about raising the stakes. For those truly hard promises that you keep breaking, it's time to implement a consequence contract. This isn't about punishment, it's about accountability. Find a trusted friend and make a pact. For example, if I don't go to the gym 3 times this week, as I promised, I will donate $50 to a political cause I absolutely despise. The key is to make the consequence something you genuinely want to avoid. This isn't about it is about creating a powerful incentive structure that forces your primitive brain to align with your higher intentions. It leverages loss aversion to your advantage, making the pain of inaction greater than the discomfort of action. To truly integrate, we must also face the parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore. This brings us to the weekly shadow audit. Carl Jung taught us that what we deny or repress doesn't disappear. It just gains power in the dark. So, once a week, sit down and honestly review your failures. Where did you fall short? When did you get triggered? When did that inner saboteur, that voice of doubt, procrastination, or self-pity take the wheel? Don't judge it, just observe it. The goal isn't to kill this saboteur. That's impossible. The goal is to understand its triggers and its patterns so you can employ it as your early warning system. When you hear that familiar whisper of doubt, instead of succumbing to it, you can say, "Ah, there you are. Thank you for the signal." What is this situation trying to teach me? This is where we pair the ancient wisdom of Stoicism with the depth of Jungian psychology. The Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of setbacks. Before starting your day or a big project, visualize what could go wrong. Your car won't start. A colleague will be difficult. You'll feel tired and unmotivated. By anticipating these obstacles, you strip them of their power to surprise and derail you. But here is the crucial addition. You must pair this Stoic realism with a Jungian sense of self-worth that is una hostage to outcomes. Your value as a person is not determined by whether you succeed or fail. It is inherent. You can strive fiercely for a goal while being completely at peace with any outcome. You can control your effort and your character, but you cannot control the results. By internalizing this, you become and failure becomes data. Success becomes a bonus. Your inner peace becomes unconditional. This is the essence of calm power. It's an integrated system where your promises, your environment, your accountability, and your self-awareness all work in concert. You're no longer fighting a civil war inside your own mind. Instead, you have a council of advisors. Your ambition drives you, your inner critic warns you, and your core self, that calm center, makes the final decision. You move through the world with a quiet confidence, not because you know you'll never stumble, but because you know you have the architecture to get back up, stronger and wiser than before. So, let's make this real right now. Declare your one non-negotiable promise for this week in the comments below. Starting your comment with the word integration. Share this video with one person in your life who's ready to stop fighting themselves and start building themselves. And be sure to watch the next chapter, where we'll dive deep into boundaries and availability, locking in this new trajectory of calm, centered power.